The 1968 Olympic Games proved to be a turning point in the history of the high jump event. Into the Mexico City Olympic arena came not only a new name to the sport, but a new approach, which was to revolutionize the high jump event. Dick Fosbury from the United States demonstrated a new style of high jump, which some considered strange and awkward. It was a jump he had devised in the previous years, and one which unsettled his opponents. While the crowd at first saw him as a novelty, his continued success at clearing the ever-increasing height soon made it apparent he was a serious contender. Valentin Gavrilov from the Soviet Union failed at his attempt of 2.22 meters, while Fosbury and his US teammate Edward Carruthers cleared their way to a jump-off. The bar sat at 2.24. Carruthers failed, and Fosbury took his new style of high jump over the bar and into the history books. Fosbury had won his gold. Within a few years, the Fosbury flop had become the standard method of jumping in this great Olympic sport.
Fosbury flop is made up of three main phases, the first being the approach phase, which is the approach to the bar. The second being the takeoff phase, which is the phase of actually leaving the ground to attempt to clear the bar. The third being the flight stage, which is the stage of actually flying over the bar. These three phases work together to obtain one common goal of clearing the bar without knocking it off.
The Fosbury flop begins with an approach or run-up to the bar. This serves as a preparation for the takeoff phase. Most people who use the Fosbury flop technique use a curved approach run-up, which consists of about 10 strides for experienced jumpers. Running on a curve helps the athlete create angular momentum around the longitudinal axis of the body, which is needed during the takeoff and flight phase. Angular momentum is the product of a body's rotational inertia and angular velocity. It is very important that the athlete does not create too much or too little angular momentum. In the last 2 or 3 strides of the approach, the athlete should lower the hips without losing a significant amount of speed. This helps to lower the center of mass of the athlete at the beginning of the takeoff phase. One of the main purposes of the curve is to make the jumper lean away from the bar at the start of the takeoff phase.
The takeoff phase is defined as a period of time between the instant when the takeoff foot first touches the ground and the instant when it loses contact with the ground. The takeoff phase is the most important phase of the three phases. As stated earlier, the center of mass should be low coming out of the penultimate step, into the takeoff, if the approach was done correctly. During the penultimate step, a hinge moment occurs. A hinge moment is when part of a moving object stops, creating a momentum transfer. The hinge moment during the penultimate step transfers the center of mass of the athlete from low to high, creating an upward momentum. Another crucial part of the takeoff phase is the knee drive. A well-executed knee drive creates angular momentum along the transverse axis.
Once the takeoff phase is executed, the flight phase begins. Once the flight phase begins, all angular momentum is fixed. Angular momentum still plays a vital role in the flight phase because it causes the body to rotate to the optimal position to clear the bar. Angular momentum on the longitudinal axis created from running on the curve during the approach phase forces the body to rotate its back to the bar. Angular momentum on the transverse axis created from the knee drive during the takeoff phase helps force the body to rotate in a reverse somersault motion over the bar. At this point in the flight phase, the center of mass is below the body, under the bar. This is created because of the continuation of momentum through the previous phases. Tucking the chin is also an important factor of the flight phase. Tucking the chin causes the hips to drop and your feet to rise and clear the bar. Timing is a critical aspect because tucking your chin too early will result in your hips hitting the bar, and tucking too late will cause you to drag the bar off with your calves, ankles, or feet.
To end our video, we thought we'd show you what it's like when a hinge moment goes wrong in the high jump. Here you go.